Hiya, my name is Henry. I'm a 22-year-old from High Wycombe in Buckinghamshire, UK. I've had various social media names during my time going through TSW, Krusty Diva. That's the one I'm using on YouTube at the moment. My Instagram is also henry.j. I post a lot about my skin on there. And essentially, I've been in TSW for 3 years. Now, what is TSW? This is all alleged as well. This is not medical advice. I'm just talking from my own personal experience. So TSW, more commonly known as Topical Steroid Withdrawal or Red Skin Syndrome or Topical Steroid Rebound Phenomena. Essentially, it is an iatrogenic rebound caused by the use, overuse or misuse of topical steroids. Topical steroids are synthetic hormones, corticosteroids, glucocorticoids that essentially are used for inflammatory skin conditions like atopic dermatitis, psoriasis, any other allergic skin disease. What causes TSW or topical steroid withdrawal? No one really knows. It's still an emerging condition. In my experience, it was the overuse of a mid to high potency steroid on very delicate areas of my skin, such as my face and my privates. On ITSAN's website, ITSAN is a recognised TSW charity. There's lots of information on what the causes of TSW, and essentially based on the very little research that we have, TSW is caused by overuse or prolonged use of mid to high potency steroids on sensitive areas of the skin. That's a brief overview of what TSW is and what causes it. This is a new condition. No one fucking knows. This is all alleged information from my own experience. This is not medical advice. I want to keep reiterating this is not medical advice. Please don't try something and then say, oh, Krusty Diva told me to do this and then it didn't work for me. The only reason I'm making this video is because in my early days of TSW, this was the only way I got through, was by watching other people who had the condition who'd survived. Because this condition is brutal, it's evil, it's the worst thing I've had to experience, and I think most people will ever have to experience. Like, I can't even describe how horrendous it is. Okay, so moving on. How did I end up in topical steroid withdrawal? As a kid, I had very little bits of eczema. I was nothing like one of them babies who came out the womb and was smothered head to toe in steroids. I barely used any as a child. When I was age 12, I was prescribed 100 grams of betamethasone valerate ointment, which is a high potency steroid ointment, and I was given that to treat an area of something completely unrelated to eczema on my genitals. I used this a couple of times during age 12 and onwards. I would say 2 or 3 times, and then when I got to about age 13-14, I was a competitive springboard diver. I was in chlorine a lot. I live in the UK where the weather is not great. I was also stressed because I went to a very high pressure, highly academic school, and I was very stressed as a teenager. I had a lot of pressure on me and I started to develop eczema, or what I thought was eczema. So I had little patches on my eyelid. I think it was around April of 2019 when I was just about to do my GCSEs. My eyelid ballooned up into what I call a vagilid. I'll put a picture of it here. I looked nuts. I looked absolutely nuts. And I went to the emergency outpatient clinic and they prescribed me, I think it was like 50 grams. It was a small tube of hydrocortisone ointment, which on the steroid potency scale, I'll link all of this information in the bio below, is at the very lowest. It's a potency level 7. It's one of the weakest steroids you can get, and I was told to use it for a couple of weeks, I think once daily, and being young and naive, I didn't listen to that, and so I would just use it as and when, because it worked like a miracle. I would put it on and my inflammation would go down almost overnight, and I was like, yes, this is amazing, this is exactly what I need. And so I would just use it whenever I would have a flare. My eyelids would balloon up, they'd be bright red, I'd be like, oh, and put a little bit of cream on, like, you know, a little squirt, nothing crazy. I wasn't going like that in my palm. I would just put a little like tiny pea on my finger like that, because I've always been a little bit cautious of medication. I've had various complications since birth, and I didn't want to have anything like this happen. After that, I then ran out of that steroid in January of 2020, and once again I was stressed. We were going into COVID. I decided to go back onto the much higher potency steroid that I had just laying around the house from when I was 12. I want to stress this. I had no idea of the different potencies of steroids. I had no idea that hydrocortisone versus betamethasone valerate was such different strengths. I believe betamethasone valerate, the ointment, is 600 times stronger than hydrocortisone. I think it's one 15-gram tube of betamethasone valerate is the equivalent to 600 hydrocortisone tubes, which if someone had told me that when I was 16, 17, I would have not have ended up as ill as I have been for the past 3 years. So I then went back onto using that ointment during COVID, and during COVID I couldn't get any dermatology appointments. I didn't even really want to go see the GP because I knew, you know, they're all overworked and people were dying. I thought, you know, my eczema, I'll be all right, I'll be fine, I just gotta use it and keep cracking on. And then I essentially used betamethasone valerate ointment for 2 years on my face, which if you actually read the instructions, which is what I didn't do, it will tell you you're not meant to use it for any longer than 2 weeks and you're not meant to use it on your face. I didn't heed this because I was young and naive and ignorant. There's a chart on ITSAN's website. ITSAN is an international TSW charity. It's where I learned everything about TSW. I'll link them in the description as well. The steroid absorption chart essentially shows the different rates of steroid absorption on different parts of the body. Once again, I had no idea about this. I believe on the eyelid and the genitals, you have a 10% absorption rate of steroid. No, it might be 40%. It's high versus putting steroids on like your kneecap, which is like 1%. And so that is the theory of how people end up in TSW at the moment. I would read a little bit off ITSAN's website, but I'd just rather spitball this and then people can learn for themselves, because I don't want to give any incorrect information, because this is all new emerging science. This, in 10 years time, there'll be research on it, but for now, all I can do is give my anecdotal advice. Yeah. That was a brief overview of how I ended up in TSW. Apologies if I miss out any information or if I forget anything. I'm happy to film another video. I just want to make this as a brief introduction into the world of TSW for someone who may have it and not realise. Now on to the second part of the video, symptoms, which is by far the worst part of TSW. This is the information I'm getting off ITSAN's website. ITSAN, once again, is an international TSW charity. They're not a recognised medical body, so it's not medical advice once again. But if you believe you may be suffering from TSW, it's worth a look. The most common symptoms of TSW syndrome, or topical steroid withdrawal, or topical steroid addiction. Oh, there's so many different definitions. So topical steroid addiction is the symptoms that occur before you come off the steroids. So before discontinuing topical steroids, usually hallmark symptoms include rebound redness between applications, rashes spreading and developing in new areas of the body, intense itching, burning and stinging, failure to clear with the usual course of treatment. You're requiring a higher potency of topical steroid to achieve progressively less clearing, so you're going up in the steroid potency ladder, and you have an increased allergic response. Now, in my experience, how I realised that it wasn't eczema and it was something more serious was that showers would burn, sweat would burn my skin, the steroids stopped working, I couldn't clear any of my usual inflammation with the newest steroids, I couldn't sleep, I had steroid moon face, so my face was very swollen. Not that I realised at the time. My hair started to fall out, like at the sides. My eyebrows started to fall out. They'd become progressively thinner over the years. I'd lost body hair. Just a bunch of symptoms that I knew wasn't eczema. And then once I came off the steroids, I had small patches of red that basically blew outwards into full body erythrodermic redness. My skin flushed a bright red. I had visible flaking of skin. It like snowed. I had oozing exudate, which is essentially plasma or the interstitial fluid between your cells. My skin would cycle between oozing, swelling, burning and flaking. I had red sleeves, so I had essentially red skin all the way up to there on both arms. Altered thermoregulation, so I would feel too hot in places that were boiling or too cold in places that were freezing. My skin would burn in water. I couldn't put any moisturizer on it. Fabrics would hurt and the wind would also hurt my neck. I would have zingers, so I'd get these shocks in my neck that were like, they were deep. It's called neuropathic pain. It's just nerve pain. I can't describe it. But it was like a electrostatic shock on the inside of my skin, like deep. I had swollen lymph nodes everywhere. They were like golf balls in my neck, in my groin, on the back, under my armpits, in my chest. I had dry eyes and irritation. I had skin atrophy, so you can see here, elephant skin wrinkles all over. Yeah, my skin just lost all of its collagen and elastin. That was like, yeah, that's one of the main symptoms of TSW, is looking about 50 at 22. I lost hair I couldn't sleep till 5 in the morning for weeks on end. That was the hardest symptom. I'd be wired awake until 5 in the morning, and then I would fall asleep and wake up at 7 a.m. It was just not right. It was really not right at all. Sorry. My appetite changed, I had fatigue, and I had severe mental health disruption. I've always been an anxious fart, but I've never been suicidal until this. And then this came and I was like, I'm still a bit shell shocked. It's awful. It's awful. So that's a brief overview of my symptoms. I'll put in a couple of pictures here because seeing people with TSW made me realise I had TSW. It was this guy on TikTok called Control Skin, Jordan. He made me realise I had TSW because he described the symptoms of being in the shower and water burning his skin like acid, and the steroids weren't working. And I thought it was eczema, I thought it would take 2 to 4 weeks when I first came off the steroids, and then all hell broke loose and I was like, oh shit, I've damaged my body severely here. So that's a brief overview of the symptoms. I'm happy to make another video and go into much more detail about why these symptoms happen. A brief overview is essentially that, the scientists don't know, but some of the theories include that the steroids have caused skin atrophy, dermal atrophy in the skin, essentially deactivated the cortisol receptors in the skin. So your skin cells individually produce cortisol, which is a sleep hormone and a stress hormone. And when you use synthetic hormones, topical steroids on your skin for prolonged periods of time, essentially shuts down this mechanism. There's adrenal dysfunction. Some people said it's gut dysbiosis. I spent thousands of pounds on holistic gut health remedies, and in my experience, none of it worked. It might do for some people, it didn't for me. There's a study by the NIH done by Ian Miles. Essentially, the steroids have changed the way your mitochondria work in your skin. This is based on his case study. This isn't medical advice. This is just very early days information. But I'll link all of the information down in my bio. So, on to the third section, solutions and everything that I tried. I tried the natural route and the medication route. Red light therapy, CAP, diets, no moisturising treatment, moisturisers, pushing through, therapy, Dead Sea salt baths, oat baths. I tried so much. And the only thing that I found worked for me is no moisturising treatment and time. In terms of the medications, I've tried cyclosporin and I've tried Sabinco, abrocitinib. I'm on abrocitinib at the moment, which is why I'm a lot less red than I normally am. However, I'm still dealing with quite a lot of symptoms on my face and my privates, and so I'm planning on going back on cyclosporin just to get a bit more quality of life, because this is hell. I'm going to say this as honestly as possible, there's no solution for TSW. All you can do is give it time. Now, that is easier said than done. I've spent thousands of therapy. I've had hours of therapy. You need a good support system. That's the most important thing you need during this. Family, boyfriend, girlfriend, day friend, doctors, supportive doctors and dermatologists make a world of difference. Friends, people that understand you need a support system. Otherwise, God knows what would happen to me. If I didn't have the people around me that I do, I would have been dead by now. I would have been 6 feet in the ground. Yeah, you need a support system. And the only solution is give it time. I'm on antidepressants, they really help me. I'm also on medication for it. I know that some people want to do the natural route, but it just wasn't viable for me. I need to work, I need a life, I'm 22, my parents want me out of the house. I want to be out of the house too. I need to be able to start living again. On to the last bit, which is moving forward with this condition and where I'm at now. On August 11th, I had an appointment at the Royal London with Dr. Anthony Bewley. He is currently running a TSW research group. There is a list of supportive TSW dermatologists in the ITSAN Facebook group. I will put that linked in the bio as well. If you want to get referred to a supportive TSW dermatologist, not saying that it will happen, I got incredibly lucky. I had a supportive GP and she referred me to Bewley. You can start from there, but people have varying experiences with Dr. Bewley and his team. Some people have been diagnosed. I was incredibly lucky I've been diagnosed with TSW. Some people haven't. It really depends, but I would recommend getting on that waiting list as soon as you can if you think you have TSW. Doing this without medical guidance, I did the natural cold turkey, raw, raw dogged it for 2 years, and I really wish I hadn't, because it destroyed my mental health, and I honestly feel like I don't think I'll ever recover from it. It's given me PTSD, horrendous PTSD, and I really wish that I'd been diagnosed and seen the dermatologist sooner, because I could have got my quality of life back earlier. I wish I could have gone on the immunos earlier. I had a 3-month stint where I was at uni in Manchester, because after I dropped out of Bath, I went back to uni to try again, and I got cyclosporine through a hospital, but then they didn't monitor me properly, and that was so risky. I could have been so ill. So you need to get a support system of a GP and a dermatologist, whether you do it private or public. I've just been incredibly lucky with the NHS. I know how to be a pushy twat, I know how to be a Karen, I know how to get seen earlier. You have to be assertive with the NHS sometimes, otherwise you'll just get thrown to the wayside. I wish it wasn't like that, but it's the way the NHS is. You have to advocate for yourself, otherwise no one else is going to for you. One of the selling points of getting my TSW diagnosis was telling the dermatologist, it's on my balls, look at my balls, this is not right. And they would all be like, oh, okay girl, okay. So I've got a diagnosis. Yes, it made me a lot happier, but it doesn't change anything. It doesn't change the fact that I still wake up every day in so much pain. It doesn't change the fact that showers burn and that I don't look like myself. Going forward, I'm on abrocitinib, but I want to try cyclosporine again because I just want to look like me again. I've been I've got a couple of news articles and things coming out, maybe, I don't know. I'm working with reporters, but it doesn't change anything. It doesn't change the fact that I'm disabled at 22 and that this is my reality. I feel like I've missed out so much. I could talk about TSW for hours, and I know people with TSW could too, so I hope this video helps. If you want another one, please comment or email me. I'll put out my email address. I'm very, very happy to respond because this condition's brutal and I'm pretty bad on social media, but I will respond to my emails. So please drop me an email if you want some help. Give my anecdotal advice, not medical advice. I'm not going to be one of them twats selling courses or doing coaching events, because I think it's despicable that people charge money for people going through TSW, but that's a whole nother kettle of fish. I tried CAP twice. I went to Thailand and I did it at the Skin Solace in the UK and it didn't work. I did the whole irritant shebang. I would recommend changing your laundry detergent, but as far as irritant goes, I think that's a one-way trip to OCD land, and I don't want to do that. So yeah, that's my overview of TSW. Please let me know if you have any questions. I'll be happy to answer. Crusty Diva out.